Before going into network ACL, a little bit more about security groups. So it's not that you have to attach or associate the security groups only during EC2 launch. You can change it later on also. Click on the EC2 instance, then Actions, and then Networking. In Networking, you'll find Change Security Groups. Click here, and then it will ask you which security group you want to associate this EC2 instance to. If you have hundreds of EC2 instances, and by mistake you launched all those EC2 instances using the wrong security group, you can come here and change the security groups of all the EC2 instances one by one, or else you can use CLI also. Let's implement the same using network ACL. NACLs are a little bit more complicated than security group because you have to create rules for both requests and responses. What we'll do here is, in fact, what you should do everywhere is you isolate each of the environments and find out the requests and responses for each one of them. So in this case, we have our web tier, app tier, and DB tier. So I have isolated each of them. We'll see the requests and responses in all these subnets. First, web tier. In web tier, we have SSH request in from internet and SSH response out to internet. We have HTTP request in from internet and HTTP response out to internet. If you have to install Apache or HTTP from the instances in web tier, we need to have a request out to internet and response in from internet. To talk to the app tier, we need to have SSH request out to app tier and SSH response coming in from app tier. Let's go to app tier now. In app tier, we have SSH request in from web tier and SSH response out to web tier. If you have to talk to DB tier, we have SSH request out to DB tier and SSH response in from DB tier. In DB subnet, we have only SSH request in from app tier and SSH response out to app tier. Come to VPC console, then security, and then network ACLs. Let me go ahead and create the network ACL. First one is web ACL, and this is for our web subnet. We'll have to define inbound and outbound rules for this ACL. Before that, let me go ahead and create all the ACLs. First, let's go ahead and create the inbound rules and outbound rules for web ACL. Before that, let us check the inbound and outbound rules. These are my inbound requests. SSH request in from internet and HTTP request in from internet. SSH response in from app tier. We have another type of request, network traffic, wherein if we have to install some software using internet in the EC2 instances within the subnet, we'll have to send a request out to internet and we'll get a response in. So this response in is also inbound. Let us go ahead and create firewall rules for these. These are my rules. The first one is SSH request in. The second one is HTTP request in from anyone. The third one is response in from internet. And the fourth one is response in from my app subnet. Now this is a redundant one because this one will be covered by this one as well. See the rule numbers. The rule numbers are not 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 100, 200, 300, 400. You should use either tens in hundreds because suppose after some time you have to insert a rule in between these two. If you keep as 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll have to insert it as 2 and you have to rename all the others. Now in this case, you can insert it as 101 or 110 also. It's better to use rule numbers in hundreds. Let's see the outbound network traffic from web subnet. The response out to internet for HTTP and SSH, request out to app subnet, and request out to internet also. These are my rules. The first one is for HTTP response and the second one is for SSH response. As these are responses, we would not know the port numbers, that's why you have mentioned a port range. So for Amazon Linux, the port range should be 1024 to 65535 as going out to internet. If you see these two are redundant, I'll remove one of them. Then we have SSH request out to our app subnet. And then finally, another request out to install Apache from the EC2 instance. Now this rule is covering each and everything. It mentions all traffic, so all traffic includes SSH and custom rule also. So it's better to remove everything and keep only this one. But I'll just remove this one and keep the rule for app tier or app subnet for understanding purpose. Once the rules have been put in place, we have created the ACL. But how do we associate this ACL with a particular subnet? Go to subnet association, click on edit, and then select the appropriate subnet. In our case, it would be web. Let us go ahead and create inbound and outbound rules for app subnet now. First, let's see what are the inbound requests and outbound requests to and from app subnet. These are my inbound traffic. SSH request in from web subnet and SSH response in from DB subnet. That's it. Let's add the rules. The first rule is for SSH request in from web subnet, and the second one is for SSH response in from DB subnet. As it is a response, we have mentioned a port range from 1024 to 65535 as the responses use ephemeral ports. What about outbound network traffic from app subnet? SSH response out to web and SSH request out to DB. These are the only two outbound traffic from app subnet. Let's go ahead and create rules for these. The first rule is for SSH request out to DB subnet, and the second rule is for SSH response in from app subnet. Now, as it is a response, we need to use ephemeral ports, hence the port range. Once all the rules are in place, we'll have to associate this ACL with a subnet. So in this case, the subnet should be our app subnet. Finally, the DB subnet. Let's see the inbound and outbound rules. For DB subnet, we have only one inbound network traffic, that is SSH request in from app subnet. This is the rule for allowing SSH to come in from app subnet. Let's see the outbound. There's only one outbound traffic, that is SSH response out to app subnet. That's it. So this is the rule for response to go out from DB subnet to app subnet. Now I'll associate this ACL with a subnet. In this case, DB subnet. All the rules are in place now. Now how do you see everything in a single place? Go to subnets, click on the particular subnet, and then in the bottom pane you have something called network ACL. Click on network ACL, it will show you all the rules associated with this particular subnet. This is for web, inbound and outbound. This is for DB, inbound and outbound. And this is for app, inbound and outbound. Let's test all these. This is the EC2 instance in web subnet. I have associated an elastic IP with this one. Let me log in and install Apache here. I installed Apache, I started the service, and this time I should see a yellow background. There you go. So the web instance is working as per requirement. Now I'll have to copy the private key from my machine to this web EC2 instance. The copy is done. This is the private key. Using this private key, I should be able to SSH into the app instance. So I was able to log into the app instance. I'm in web instance now. Let me try to connect or SSH into the DB instance. I should not be able to do it as per the requirement. As you can see, I'm unable to do so. So my requirement has been met. I'm in app instance now and I have copied the private key file to this instance. From here, I should be able to log into or SSH into the DB instance. This is my DB instance. So all the requirements have been met. We were able to implement this architecture using both security groups and network ACLs. This concludes part 2 of VPC. Thank you for watching.